Which, by the way, everybody on the phone, we are recording. So if you don't want to be recorded, drop now. All right. So again, with what's new in the Power BI with the new format pane is probably one of the biggest changes. And what that looks like, again, you get this double arrow here. When you expand it, you get these. Here's what the panes look like now. So instead of this showing up all the time on every pane, now the format icon, which is no longer a paint roller, it's now a paintbrush. So now it goes all the way up. So they're trying to solve the vertical space and scrolling issues, essentially, is what they're trying to do. Which I think it's a great change. It just totally screws up my book that I just published because it doesn't have this interface. So anyway, so now when you go to this build visual, it's the visuals and then all of the settings, like it's your format, not your fields pane from before, right? And then you go here, and then it's just the formatting pieces. So I think it's a good improvement. It looks like and what they also tried to do in this is, remember how you used to, like, you'd have whatever the name of the setting was, and it would get the ... You'd have to hover over it and like get a tooltip to see what it was. They did a lot of work around making it so you actually can read everything. And they did some toggling work and things like that. So overall, I think it's a really great change. But it causes me problems. Anyway, so any questions over the visualization pane and what they've done with it? And you do have to go in and turn it on as a preview feature. So when you go to options, you get two new ones that wants to come up. I also think that the November version, and somebody else, I don't want to prejudice anybody's opinion, but to me, it seems snappier. Like the October one seemed to like lag quite a bit, and this November one, it like seems to like launch faster and things seem to happen faster in it, but I could just be going crazy. Preview features. So basically it's the new format pane and the scorecard visualization. So those are the two previews that you're going to want to turn on to get this format pane. And this is the new scorecard feature, which we'll kind of cover that a little bit with when we cover scorecards in Power BI Premium. So welcome. There's pizza and pop and salad. Help yourself. All right. So that's the new format pane. The other one that they added, and that's why I created this visual here, and this is pretty cool. So sort legend. So now I can sort my legend either ascending or descending. I probably just sorted it the exact way that it was sorted. So I'll sort it the other way, sort descending. So now my warehouse and that, so that's brand new. Different sorting features. And then Jason wanted to take a look at Page Navigator and Bookmark Navigator. So these are kind of cool, I think, if I'm reading what they do. So I'm going to just create a bunch of blank pages. And then what you can do, you can go to Insert, and then Buttons, and then Navigator, and then we'll do Page Navigator, and we'll see what happens. I haven't actually done this. All right, so what it did was it created a bunch of buttons up here at the top, one for each of my pages, and did it all automatically. So in theory, I click on page 2. Oh, I have to control click. I'm on page 2. I suppose then you would just, I thought it would automatically put it on each page. So I'm disappointed, but I mean, you could just go and copy it to each page. That way I can flip back and forth between page 1 and page 2 and page 3, etc. That's a time saver. I'm assuming that if I created bookmarks, it would do something similar. It would create a bunch of buttons and bookmarks for me. And see what it says. Yeah, it's the same thing. So if I have bookmarks over here, it'll create a bunch of buttons and then tie those buttons to the bookmarks. So nifty. Do you guys want me to create some bookmarks and test it out, or? Let's see. Business type. Let's see here. View. Bookmarks. We'll add one. That'll be the default. And then we'll maybe filter this and say only those. We'll add a bookmark. We'll go to page 3. and we'll add a bookmark. All right, see what happens here. Now, if I go to Insert and then Buttons, Navigator, Bookmark Navigator, I have bookmark 1. That's all correct. Now, if I go to bookmark, where did I create that thing? Bookmark 2 should be just the blue ones. Yep. And I think, well, let me copy this. Otherwise, it's not going to do what I want it to do. It's supposed to change page, right? To page 3. And it does. Yep. There you go. It is kind of a nice feature. I mean, I don't know how many hours I've spent building similar navigation features, and that sort of thing. If you could have a starting point for it, I think that's pretty good, because usually it's like, okay, create the button, then, copy and paste it. That's the one downside that I see to this, though, that could, usually what I do is I create one button, right? And I get it all formatted the way I want, the right color, the right font size, da 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 da. Then I copy and paste it, change the bookmark, copy and paste it, change the bookmark, copy and paste it, change the bookmark. And that could be I don't know if, unless you can change all of these buttons all simultaneously, which I don't know if you can do. They mentioned something about formatting options. Just like other buttons, tons of formatting options.
Change the format all at the same time for all of them?
Well, that's what I'm wondering if you can do that.
Different buttons, or is it just one control?
Oh. Yeah. We've got it chosen. Okay, format navigator. Okay, there we go. All right, they thought about this. Good for them. They're smart.
Oh.
But now if we change that to oval, ooh, look at that. That's beautiful. Good job, Microsoft. They did think about that. All right, so then you can just so you have one formatting option. You can change all the styles and colors and everything. Man, that's killer. I like that. All right, we covered sort legend. The rest of these, the scorecard visualization, this one's important. So this one came up on the forums a couple times. The guy's big map stopped working. So they were working fine, and all of a sudden they stopped. And he figured out that he had to go into tenant level settings and flip a setting within tenant level settings to be on instead of off. So what's going on is they're rolling out tenant settings. They roll out new tenant settings, and they set them to a default state. So basically, if you run into that problem and all of a sudden all your Bing maps stop working, go into your tenant settings and go fix it. Yeah. They keep, I don't know if you guys have noticed, does anybody here admin their Power BI service or anything? You? Have you noticed all the tenant settings in like the last year? Dude, it's exploded in terms of like there have to be 3 times as many tenant settings now as there used to be.
Yeah.
It's insane.
James would be managing ours.
Have you seen that, James?
I haven't looked at tenant settings in a while now, but yeah, I mean the last time I looked, I think was probably with you and Eddie.
Yeah, it's increased since then because so in the second version of Learn Power BI, I go through and document all the tenant settings and like provide suggestions on what they should be and all of that sort of stuff. And I used, and so I was referring back to some of that documentation. It's like, oh my gosh, there's more, even like since like 3 months ago when I wrote this document. It's crazy. Yeah, so if I go in here to the admin portal and I go to tenant settings, yeah, this used to be a lot shorter. I mean, there's a ton of new export settings for like the paginated reports, discovery settings, integration settings. I mean, this never used to be this long. It just keeps scrolling. So a lot of new tenant settings. So worth taking a look if you haven't been there out there in a year. You should go take a look and see what's out there. Anything else about the update that people wanted to see? I think those were the major ones.
I'm excited about the Google Sheets integration.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Well, that's right. You guys, that's all you guys
It's
use.
like the #1 feature request on the site or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea. Not smart sheets?
Smartsheet's been had integration for a while.
Yeah, are Google Sheets really that cool?
Yeah.
They better than Excel?
No, but this saves me from having to store things in Excel and upload it to Google Docs.
I'm just messing with you, man. All right, no, cool. They keep adding these things. I mean, I can't. They add like 5 or 6 connectors every month. So
The Synapse and Delta sharing ones are on my mind. I think they're a big deal for not only me, but a lot of my customers.
what is Delta Share?
It's basically an open source sharing format for like Delta Lake, like the Delta format, which is like an extension of Parquet. They kind of built a connector, like a standard and free protocol Databricks made to like, rather, you know how Snowflake has like proprietary, like, oh, we'll share our Snowflake tables, your Snowflake tables. Databricks was like, how about we do this, but make it free and open? So that's why it's
Gotcha.
implemented in Power BI now.
Got it. How about
It's
the
really
big
nice.
war between Databricks and Snowflake? We're back to the days of people posting performance results, man. I'm excited.
I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen like, two corporations go head to head and, knock down, drag out fight, out in the, that's back in the 90s people used to do that. So I'm excited to see the return of that personally. I want more of it. I want more conflict. All right. All right. Well, that covers what's new with Power BI. Any questions on any of that or any other comments on things going on in there? I don't get the whole rotating the pie chart thing, but for those of you that use pie charts, maybe that's a cool thing. I don't know. All right. Well, we're here to talk about premium, I guess. Now, before you guys get into that, I did launch my new YouTube channel. It's got all of 39 subscribers on it. But what this is it's Microsoft Hates Greg YouTube channel. So this covers the Microsoft Hates Greg external tool that I created, and it shows you how to install it, basically what's coming up in future releases. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover every quick measure that's in there. I'll be covering, and showing how to use it and all of that sort of stuff and why it works, how it works, kind of going through the DAX. So I've got two of those videos up there. So just launched this between the last user group meeting and this user group meeting. So I'm going all in on the Microsoft Hates Greg brand. I'm telling you. All right.
We get T-shirts or anything?
Oh, maybe I'll start up a Patreon or something. You can get a sticker, a Microsoft Hates Greg sticker. All right. A lot of fun. So we got that. Oh yeah, this is my other blog article I wrote in Defensive earlier. But anyway, and then obviously Power BI Weekly is a good place to go and keep up to date on everything that's going on. So, all right. So premium. So what is premium? Let's start there. So Power BI Free and Pro, you're in what's called a shared capacity, right? So basically everybody, there's capacities, but you're kind of sharing it with everybody else, right? With a premium capacity, it's a dedicated capacity. It's yours. You're the only one that uses those, those CPUs, that memory, and all of that sort of stuff. You're kind of protected from noisy neighbor syndrome and all of that. And it comes with a bunch of features, things like scorecards and goals, and comes with your XMLA endpoint, which is important for doing incremental refreshes and all of that sort of stuff. And it comes with one of the coolest things is pipelines, I think, which really help you manage, and we're going to create those and show those. But it helps you manage your deployment of your content from test to dev to prod, right? Like you would normally in any kind of normal application development. It's always been kind of the application lifecycle aspect of Power BI has always been kind of a sort of there, but it's not really there. Pipelines go a long way to addressing that, in my opinion. There's still a few things that could be done better, but it seems like, that pipelines are going to be their format for managing the life cycle of Power BI, data sets, reports, and all of that. So, and then the last thing, I think, unless Arthur, you want to chime in on other cool features of premium, the other one really cool feature that I don't know if we'll cover it today, we can probably cover it, and then in a later session, which is the machine learning, which kind of Arthur the auto ML stuff that you can do with data flows, right? So
Yes.
that's the other really cool thing. Or do you have anything
Yeah,
you wanted to add?
Nope. Maybe I can give a demo on that someday soon. I think, didn't you kind of give one, like a brief one, I don't know, like 2 months ago, 3 months ago? Or am I
We've
crazy?
done it. I can't remember the last time we did auto ML, but it's been a long time ago. Because
Yeah.
I was giving a demo on it, but it may have been 2 years ago that I was doing that when it kind of
Okay.
first came out. Maybe worth covering again. I think I was using the
Yeah,
house
definitely.
pricing demo. All right.
Hmm.
So let's say okay. So and again, in the Power BI Premium, you get this in the admin portal. You get these capacity settings, right? So this is as part of being an MVP. They gave me access to this premium site. So as you can see, we're on a P1, which has 8 V cores and all of that sort of stuff. But I don't think I'm allowed to go in here and monkey with any of this. At least they tell me not to, right? It's right in the name. Don't mess with this. But I think I can show you at least what the settings and all of that look like. So now the other piece of this was what's called premium. So basically, Power BI Premium capacity starts, MSRP is like 5K per month, right? But basically what you can do is you can set up workspaces where anyone with a free account can view the reports in there. So essentially, if you pay for more than around 450, 500 pro licenses, then you should go to a premium capacity because it tends to be less expensive. Because all those people, you can just have free licenses for Power BI, put it in a premium capacity, and then they can all view it for free. They don't have to have an individual license. There's something else that's called premium per user that just recently came out, and it's $20 per user per month instead of $10 per or $9.99, whatever, per user per month. And that's basically you're still in sort of a shared capacity, but you get all the premium features, which like your increased data size limits and pipelines and scorecards and your goals and all that stuff. So
What's the difference between the two? So it's $20 a month versus about 50,000 a year or 60,000 a year.
right. It's all about scale and about numbers of
Scale.
users. So premium per user, it works just like pro. And this is important. This is what people don't realize. Sometimes they get it messed up. So if you do pro, then everybody you have to you share it. Everybody has to have a pro license, right? With premium premium, you create a premium workspace. Doesn't matter what license you have. You can have a free license, pro license, doesn't matter. You can view that content because it's on a premium capacity workspace. With premium per user, it works like pro. If you create a premium per user workspace, everybody that accesses that workspace has to have a premium per user license. Does that make sense?
Yes, kind of.
I mean, that's one of the, so you get all, so the idea is you start with pro, and let's say you get to a couple hundred licenses for pro. And then you want the premium features, you want the scorecards and the goals and that, but you're not at the size yet that where 5K per month makes
Makes
sense,
sense.
right? So then you would go premium per user, and then you're paying less than you would, and then as you grow more, then you would switch over to premium. So what they did, there was, especially Matt Allington, he was incensed over because all of his customers seemed to fall in that mid-size category, right? So when Microsoft first came out with premium, it was really built for enterprises. Well, Matt Allington's all his customers apparently fell into that mid-range where it's like they were too small for premium, but then they were paying too much for pro.
That's what happened to us.
Yeah, they fell into, so premium per user was Microsoft's attempt to address that mid-range piece.
This came out recently.
I think it just came out, like literally just came out like this year. Seems like it was either this year or last year. I think it was this year. They announced it at Ignite. It took a long, I've known about it, that it was coming for like 2 years. But it finally just came out like this year. They announced it at the Ignite and everything. It's in general availability and all that. So it's fairly new.
If you have
So
a
anyway.
question about the premium per user,
Sure.
if you have a premium per user workspace and you publish a data set there and share it with other analysts or developers, can they publish another report off that in a pro workspace?
They might be able to do that. I don't know if that would be covered under the, it might be one of those things where you can do it, but it's a license terms of use violation. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't
It's a good,
violate that, but.
One license premium and then publish to a pro license.
well, I think what's, if I understand the question correctly, what she's, because Microsoft allows you to publish a data set to a workspace. And then it allows you to share your workspace to another workspace. So I can have a report over here in this workspace that uses the data set over here as a live connection in this workspace. Man, that's a good question. I'm going to find out. I will find out the answer to that question.
Yeah, because we have a handful of developers and power users who would benefit from a premium per user license, but we
Not
aren't
everyone.
ready to take our whole organization premium. We have far more end users and consumers of data than, but not enough to get, we're not big enough to really justify that premium
Right.
overall.
I mean, my gut feel on that is that Microsoft would have seen that loophole coming and not allowed it.
Yeah.
And that if you have a report sitting in this workspace and it's using a data set in a premium workspace or a PPU workspace, that it's not, that the user looking at this report is going to need a PPU license. But it seems like that's something that's verifiable, and I will find out. But I do not know the answer to that question off the top of my head.
All right, thanks.
I love when you guys ask me questions that I get stumped on.
It's G8 in April. For user.
Per user? Okay, thank you. Would you look that up on your phone while I wasn't paying attention?
Things are magical.
All right, very cool. So anyway, so this is what the admin settings look like. I mean, you get extra bells and whistles and stuff that you can, switches that you can throw and all of that sort of thing. So not really all that exciting. This was a nice feature that they added, is the auto scale and that sort of thing. So you can scale up between a P1 to a P2 and back down again automatically if you want to enable that, right? More importantly, what you guys care about are goals and pipelines and that. So which one do you guys want to cover first? You guys want to cover pipelines first, or you want to cover goals first?
Goals.
Goals. All right. So goals are cool. So they got some sample ones out there. So to create a goal, you first have to create a scorecard. And here's a real simple one I built when I was going through, because there's a scorecard example in Learn Power BI. So this was what I was building out when I was writing that chapter in the book, or that recipe in the book, or that part of the book, right? So what you have is a scorecard is just a collection of goals. And then these goals, you can track these goals and update these goals over time. So for example, this one right here, complete second edition, I can go to my notes here. It was this on this date. It was this on this date. If I want to do a new check-in, I can put a new check-in and put a new figure in for this, save it. Maybe 150%. Why is it not showing up in my, oh yeah, posted now, 150%. So there it is. Oh, it's because I edited it. I thought I did a new check. Well, maybe it does anything when I do. Let me try this again. So this one is at 85%. Go here, do a new check-in. Well, this is not working well for me. Started. Did I start this? Started? I have no idea. Oh, is this based off of, this is actually based off of data. Oh, that's the difference. Sorry about that. So this is a goal, and we should probably go through and do this, but this goal is actually based off of just a manual entry, right? But you can also have goals that are based off of the actual data, and then they automatically update. So if I refresh the data set and that value is different and is changed, then it'll actually sit there and change this history. So that's why this one, I can't edit this goal. I would have to actually go to the data set that this goal is connected to. And if this gets refreshed and gets updated, then that goal will be tracked within that scorecard. So that's super cool. So this is actually the this is the Learn Power BI second edition report that you build as part of that book, basically. I think I tied it to total utilization. So if I was to refresh this and total utilization went up or down, then that scorecard value, that goal value would change in the scorecard. So the way we create these is we first go and create a new scorecard. We call the scorecard something like CAMLPUG. And we can give a description if we want to. And we can tie it to a particular workspace. Sure, we'll tie it to this one. Actually, we should probably create a workspace just for this. Let's go create a premium workspace. CAMLPUG 1, CAMLPUG 2, new workspace. Let's call it CAMLPUG. And then you go down to advanced. And this is where you have the settings where you're specifying pro or premium per capacity. So this is where you'd set premium per user or premium per capacity. We have premium per capacity, so I'm just going to set it to that. If you have multiple capacities, you can select which capacity you want to put the workspace in. So, and then you can pick like small or large data set format. So now we have this. So now let's go to goals, create a new scorecard. And we don't want to create a workspace. We've got the workspace we want. You get this screen, you set a new goal. I can name my goal, I don't know, arrive at Atlas Tavern, right? They're open. That's where PowerPine is. So all the people that show up in person have the option to go get a drink with me after this, but all of you guys online, you can't do that. All right, so we can set that this is, let's see, we're a half hour in. So this is where 0.5, and our target is to get to 1, and our status is, we can set it to be on track, let's say, give it a start date, give it an end date, save it. And so that's how you create a manual goal that you can then go in, and I can then go in here and update it and set a new check-in, give it a new goal. It'll track it over time, all of that sort of thing. So these are nice if you just, want to set your personal goals and things like that you have for the year. I know I have mine that has my variable comp. I could track my goals in here and see if I'm on track or not. But then the really cool part is that you can tie these, if I can remember how to do it, so you can tie these and connect them to a particular piece of data. That's both your current and your target value, and even your status. You can set up rules for it. So if I set this to, I can just pick any of my data sets that I have out here, like the Learn Power BI second edition. This is how I set up that utilization. So I can pick my data set, come in here, should show me all my tables and all my stuff. Go to executive summary. I pick this.
So it has to be tied to something like a visual you already have. You can't go pick a measure or something, or.
I haven't found a way to do
You have to
that
put
yet.
it visually first.
Yeah, you put it as visual, something that's visual is showing up in the report. It's a good point to point out. Yeah, I mean, when I first went in and started looking at this thing, I thought I was going to be presented with the fields list, right? And then go pick something. I guess to a certain extent, it makes more sense doing it this way. Because, okay, I tie it to a column. That doesn't make much sense. Tying it to a measure makes a lot of sense. At the end of the day, if that becomes a problem, just create a hidden page on a report and put all your goal measures or something that you want to tie it to. Just put them all there in a card visualizations. That's my current value. If I do my target, say I pick the same one. Next, you get how I did this. I'm gonna have to go read my book. Remember. think I went to executive summary. Did I pick the KPI? That's still going to connect it to utilization. I really want target utilization.
You mix and match the hard coding with the dynamic, like can you just put a number in on the other screen?
Sure. Yeah. Go back, cancel. So instead of connecting this, I could just plug in 0.8. You can mix and match being connected or not connected. Then you can set up a rule that says change status to, let's say, at risk. And we'll add a condition. Oops, I already had a condition, right? If value is less than, so if I'll choose the value is less than % of target, 100% of target, then it'll change to at risk. Or let's go ahead and do this. I would think if I do greater than, it makes no sense, but we're going to do it this way just so we can see it change, right? Then state rules, okay. Greater than 100% of target. No, does that make any sense?
Current is 85.
Yeah, so 0.8. Save. Save. You gonna change on me? I have to save it. Test goal. Save. It's at risk. So anyway, obviously, very simple example or whatever, but you can set up those things so that if you tie it all to your data and you set up your rules correctly, as your data changes, your rules will kick in and set your status automatically to whatever it should be. That was a terrible demo, but I hope everybody at least understands like the basics of scorecards and goals, which was really the only point that I was trying to get across. This stuff's always hard to demo live, but I think they have some good examples that are out here. So they have like an education. They got some good samples. Like let's go and say a sales sample. So here's a much better demo, right? Because they've already actually done all the data and everything. So this has, you can have goals and you can have sub goals of those goals. This shows your tracking by time. You get these nice little graphs and all of that sort of thing. It shows you're on track or completed or behind schedule. So
For the ones that are data bound, how often is it dating?
every time it refreshes. So every time it refreshes, if the value changes, well, actually, I think it's every time that it refreshes, because it'll like be the next day, it'll update the value and track it over time. And then you got these nice little cards to sort. You know, here's all the stuff that I'm behind schedule. So anyway, very cool stuff. It's kind of funny though, because for those of you that don't know, Microsoft, everything at Microsoft in terms of their goals, they are actually driven off what they call scorecards. So when I saw this show up, so every Microsoft employee gets a scorecard at the beginning of the year that has all their goals on it, right? And so when I saw this show up, I'm like, oh, they just took what they do internally and just turned it into a feature in Power BI. So what's on your scorecard, Arthur, for the year?
How much the Microsoft calls it impact.
Impact.
How much you can drive customer success at all my customers. That's what CSAs do.
Very cool. I just had to mention that just because I've worked with Microsoft like my entire career, and they always like all the Microsoft people will talk about what's on their scorecard. It's on my scorecard this year. So when that showed up in Power BI, I was like, ah, that's cool. All right, so that's
definitely
goals.
It's definitely an engineering sort of thing. The engineering org has a lot of that.
Yep. All right, so that's scorecards. So now the other part is the pipelines. And I think the pipelines are super cool. So here is I think this one is unpopulated. Yep, so this one is unpopulated. That's a pipeline that I created. And then this one actually I populated as I built it out, but we're gonna build one of these. But what this is for is this is for having, so in classic application lifecycle management, right? You have a dev environment where you're developing stuff, you deploy that to test, users test it out, you deploy that then to production once it's been tested, right? And some people have like dev test QA prod or whatever, but there's multiple environments. And nothing goes to prod that hasn't been tested. So this is Microsoft's, and that whole ALM process, application lifecycle, was always shaky in Power BI until pipelines came out. There wasn't any real good way of doing it, right? You could create 3 different workspaces, and then you deploy the content to this workspace, and then people would test it, but then you'd have to go and deploy it to this to this work. It was a very manual effort, and this kind of basically automates the whole thing. So see if I can do another terrible demo. So basically, we're going to go and we created our CAMLPUG workspace, right? So we can create a pipeline for it. So we can, so I probably should publish something. So let's just pick this. Am I logged into the right person? Am I logged in as? Nope, I'm logged in. Gotta sign out. Sign back in.
This all the pro, like premium format? Or is it all pretty much the same format anymore? It's just been 9 months since I've looked at Power BI and it looks different.
No, it's probably you haven't looked at it for 9 months and it's totally different.
All right, okay.
We
Just,
still have the license. We can.
yeah, no, I can log into it tomorrow. Be like, wow, okay,
I think that's my
everything
login.
changed.
Try to move away from Excel into something like this. That's the goal of this conversation for us.
Gotcha.
We drive a lot of things by Excel.
You declare Power BI MVPs on Microsoft.com. That should be the right one. See if I remember my password.
Yeah.
Pipeline and scorecards.
Hooray. All right, so now I should be able to publish. I realize I just did that with three clicks when I could have done it in 2, but that's okay. And this is my workspace I want to publish it to. Hooray. All right, so now if I go back, I go to my workspace. My workspace, I want to go to the CAMLPUG workspace. This one. There it is. Got my scorecard out there, got my cookbook. All right, we're good. So now I'll go to deployment pipelines. I'll say create a pipeline. I can give my pipeline a name. CAMLPUG pipeline. I'm having trouble reading today. So I create it. So I assign a workspace for this pipeline. And so what I'll do is I'll say, okay, I'm going to assign this workspace and I'm going to make it the production workspace, let's say. And I'm going to select the workspace and it's going to be the CAMLPUG workspace. I'm going to assign it, and that's my production workspace. So anything that's in that, okay, it doesn't support scorecards, fine, that's okay. So anything that's not a scorecard or is in my production pipeline instance. So it's basically, think of it, this stage, which is production, is tied to this workspace, okay? Now what I can do then is I can take this workspace, if I can remember how to do it. That's not what I want. Why am I missing the option that I want? Oh, I think it was those vertical ellipses. Hang on a second. I love live demos.
They'll get us every time.
I know you were having problems with that on your demos.
Indeed. Yep.
Here we go. I think it's these ellipses. There we go. Deploy to previous stage. So if I deploy it to previous stage, it says, okay, it doesn't support scorecards. I hit continue. And you can do this in either direction, right? You can deploy it to development first, and then the test, and then the production, or you can go the opposite direction. And what it's going to do, it's going to take everything that's in production, all your data sets, all your reports, all your dashboards, and it's going to push them into a new workspace that it created for you. Okay, so it created this CAMLPUG test. So now if I go to workspaces and I look, all of a sudden I have a CAMLPUG test workspace out there, which is an exact copy of my CAMLPUG. And then I also have these circular arrows right here that says, hey, everything's in sync. All right. So then I can say I can deploy to previous stage and do the same thing. I'll deploy it to development. And it's going to get there eventually. Now, the cool thing about this, right, is that, okay, everything's in sync. Now we'll go ahead and try this and make sure and try this work. The cool thing about this is that you can actually control, this data set has parameters in it. And you can actually, so let's say you have a data, I have a test, I have a development report. And this reporting, it's pointed to a development server. And that development server is defined by Power Query parameters, right? Well, I can set up a rule in my development stage of my pipeline that says, that points those parameters to the dev SQL server. And then when it gets to test, I can set it up so that it points it to the test SQL server. And then when it gets to production, I have the rules set up where it points it to the production SQL server.
Do those have to be parameters in the actual Power BI report, or it's all just configuration?
No, they have to be parameters in the Power BI report.
Okay.
So like, for example, I've got I go to transform data. If I was smart, I would anticipate all these questions ahead of time and then have all this stuff ready. Anyway, so here's my parameter. So if I go to manage parameters, I got two of these defined. I have one, which is my SQL server and host and instance name, and then it's set as text. And then I have this one here, which is database, and it's AdventureWorks DW 2019, right? So in theory, if I can remember how to do it, get back to here. So in theory, I set up the rules for this space settings. No, that's not it. I think it's here. This little deployment rules. Okay. Select that guy. I say add rule. Oh, parameter rules. Here we go. Add rule. I haven't really played with the rules up here yet. I'm not sure what exactly all those do. But here I can say, okay, my server, and it's localhost MS SQL Server dev. Well, I don't have this actually, but I can set this to test, right? And I can save it. So now that parameter, when this thing gets deployed to test and it goes to refresh and do all that sort of stuff, it's actually going to be pulling from the test server, not the dev server, the test server that doesn't exist in my case. But anyway, I'm not sure what these do because I really haven't played with them. So this is replace this data set. I'll have to look into this more, but there's a bunch of stuff that they're adding into these pipelines. These pipelines are here to stay. This is going to be application. This is going to how you do lifecycle management within Power BI. My machine's about ready to die. I have a feeling. I forgot to put it in. Give me a second. My screen just dimmed, which that's a sure sign that it's about ready to die. All right. Any questions like about pipelines and that? Let's go ahead and give this a try.
Is it still the only way to get it from your desktop too? This is through publishing. There's no like GitHub integration or anything like that.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So
No.
you're just doing the traditional publisher. Okay.
Yep. So what I'll do is I will go back here. Close out of that, I think. There we go. So let's go ahead and publish this. No, wait, got to change something. Get rid of this, get rid of this. Calculations, new measure. Measure equals 1. Do that, we'll save it. And we'll publish it to dev. We can publish it now into the dev environment. Place. Okay, that happens sometimes when you click too fast. To here. So if I go to, that's not what I wanted. With this, should be my new report, right? With the shrunk up, right? There it is. But if I go here, I look at this guy, not going to have my new measure. It's going to have the full, once it renders in. Come on, render up here. Cool. Try this one. Again, live demos are always great. That's what's supposed to look. It's supposed to look like. Oh, I know why it's probably not looking like that. It's because I updated the parameter. Anyway, this is my production. This was my development. What I can do then is I can say compare, right? It tells me that stuff's different and my data set's different. And so what I can do here is I can say deploy to test. I can say continue. Maybe I shouldn't have been monkeying around with those parameters. Probably not. That's why I'm probably getting nothing here. Maybe I'll take that rule away. Here. Delete the rule. Save. If that fixes everything. Time it caught my report because I saw it. All right, so now we got a green circle. If I go to this report again, sorry, man, I'm still learning how to use these things. Now I should have, once it rendered, I don't know why it's not rendering in test. That's weird. But as you can see, it's only taking up, it's not taking up the full page. Maybe I'm just not giving this long enough. I'm being impatient. But now you can see that it's saying, oh, this is out of sync. I can say compare. I'll deploy this to, it's going to deploy my data set and my report to production.
If you have multiple reports in that space and you only want to promote one report to the next workspace, like from dev to test, but you don't want to move everything else, can you do that?
I think you can select what you want to move.
Okay.
And let's just see if we can prove that. We'll modify this again, and we'll publish this out to that's definitely a feature of like the ALM toolkit. You know, you can compare it, and then you can select what you want to change in the data set and all of that. We'll see what happens. Got it? Now getting lost. This is why I have like 1,000 tabs open, by the way. This is how it happens. So now if I go and I've deployed this to development, it should take up part of the page, not all the page, which it does. Now if I should have changed the data set. Because I want to actually prove out that I can select one or the other. This measure is very useful. It returns 2. Save. Home. Save myself a click. All right. So then we should be able to less. We'll refresh this page. Says something's wrong. Compare them. Okay, so now if I just select just this, and say deploy to test. One item in the destination workspace will be replaced during deployment, which is my report. So the answer is yes. All of that, all of that for yes. Yes, you can.
Thank you.
All right. Yep, no problem. So that is deployment pipelines, right? At least the basics of deployment pipelines. These are out there. It's kind of interesting because has anybody here worked with Azure deployment pipelines at all? Like they're way
Data Factory?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Data Factory. I mean, it seems like it's way more complicated than this. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is like, it's like, well, I think Brett Powell wanted me to include a recipe in the Power BI cookbook for this. I'm just like, really? It's so simple. It's like, it's so, I mean, if you can't figure out how to do it, Anyway, but yeah, there is a recipe in Power BI cookbook for this that covers the parameters and all of that sort of thing. But that's it in a nutshell as far as Power BI deployment pipelines, and your scorecards and goals and things like that. And somebody had a hard break at 7 or something like that, an hour. So it is 7 o'clock. Does anybody want to have any other questions? Want to see anything else?
I had a question about back to the scorecards. There was the scorecard visual.
Oh
Is
yeah,
that just then tying into the scorecards you set up and letting you?
I actually haven't had a chance to mess with it, so let's do it. Well, I'm not afraid of live demos. So I would say yes. So it looks like, and I am logged in as that. So create new scorecard, connect to an existing scorecard. It's great. Connect to an existing scorecard. Why don't I have scorecards up?
You're in the right workspace or in the right account.
No, that's a good question. Does it have to be in my workspace? Is that what it is? That why I don't have any scorecards in my workspace? So therefore, let's find out. Could create a new scorecard. Let's create a new scorecard and see where it creates it. How about that? Greg's awesome scorecard.
Didn't you toggle your Microsoft account at one point?
I'm in the Power BI MVP. Like I couldn't, confirming that we will create the workspace description. Create both a workspace and a scorecard. This is obviously a preview feature because I can't create it. Okay. So connect to an existing scorecard. Interesting. So maybe what I'll do didn't pick up my recent. I would say this is a preview feature. That's my opinion.
Early preview.
I go to goals. And I set this as a favorite. That's my scorecard, right? I go to favorites, recent, all scorecards. I'll favorite that one. All right. I don't know where it's pulling this from. Maybe think it would be the same workspace that I'm logged in as. Maybe if I sign out and sign back in. I don't know. Scorecard. Okay, because it did. Here, let's do this. 'Cause it did present me a sign-in screen, right? Let me sign out. All right, now I'll create the scorecard. Sign into the Power BI service to create a score. Okay. Nope, not that. Declare at Power BI MVPs on Microsoft. Okay, so it signed me in. That was weird. I thought it would ask for my password to an existing store card. It's not finding them out there, man. Weird.
Maybe by next month it'll be working.
And if I do this, maybe test. Please create a workspace first. All sorts of confused on this one, Jason. I would wait until next month.
Maybe a couple months.
Maybe a couple months on this one. Yeah. I don't know what it's doing.
What do you use the sensitivity for? Sensitivity.
Fair.
So when you created I think it was when you created the workspace, but it's up across the top next to publish. It's grayed out or whatever, but.
Oh,
They're
no,
privacy-
it's
data privacy labels.
it's based data privacy labels. He's got it exactly right. So you can, so there's Azure information protection and all of that sort of stuff that you can set up. And then you can tie Power BI data sets to that so that it enforces the same rules. Yep. That's it. All right. Well, that was kind of a quick overview of pipelines and all of that. And it was one of the, if I can find the right window now, I got 1,000 of these. Here's my 1,001. I think, where's my forms? Nope, that's not it. Forms. I'll probably publish a new one of these out there, but this was, you know, like scorecards and pipelines were pretty high on the list of things that people wanted to see. What I'll probably do is come up with another form. This is probably going to be the last Power BI user group for the year, because typically in past years when I've had them in December, it snows and there's holidays and nobody shows up. And so we're just going to skip December. We're just going to go right into January, pick it up right in January. And hopefully maybe some of this COVID nonsense will be behind us by then, but I doubt it. It's probably going to go on for another 2022 or something. But anyway, hopefully we can get back to some kind of normalcy at some point. That's really all I have. Appreciate everybody coming. Appreciate everybody coming online. I will make I've been just shipping the raw recordings and putting those online without any editing. So God forbid what all is in those. I don't know. And they're probably too long than what they should be, but eventually I'll maybe if I can get my son Rocket to edit those down to like the important bits, then I'll get the shorter versions out there as well. But trying to get him to do anything sometimes that, you know, he doesn't want to do, you know, whatever. I even pay him. Like I pay him video editing prices to like just get this video edited. Anyway. All right. I hope everybody has a good rest of the year, has a good holiday schedule, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, all that stuff. And I appreciate everybody coming. Unless you're from
Live long
overseas,
and
then you don't
prosper.
care about Thanksgiving. Was that?
I said live long and prosper. Have a great
Live long and
holiday.
prosper.
Feel free to
There you
email
go.
me if you have any questions on the stuff I shared. That is in the meetup chat. And Greg's gonna post it and like pin it in the meetup.
It is in this meetup chat. And what I will do is I will take this and
Not the meetup comments, not this. Yeah.
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 It's
Like
up
the
here.
comments on meetups page. On meetups page.
Oh, on the meetups page. Oh, you put them on the
Yeah.
meetups page. I got you. So out on meetup.com. So he's talking
Right.
about out. Which one of these is it? Nope. This one. Right, this one. It's amazing that I
Yep.
can figure out which one it is, but it's, anyway, I have a lot, years of
And
practice.
If you scroll down,
Discussions?
yeah, I think it's either that or I think it's on the event.
On the event itself,
Yeah.
Yes,
we will figure it out.
Sorry.
Events. This one.
clicky click the event, and you see
Oh,
the
it's right
little one comment. There it
Yep.
is, and you can see.
There it is.
I put it there.
Yeah, I can
Let
see
me
it.
just- Oh, it's just slow. Scroll
My
down.
email.
Scroll again.
Scroll again.
Yeah,
There it is.
there it is.
Okay.
It's just really
I will
slow.
get this also posted out kind of to the overall events and that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's just slow. All right. Thanks, everybody. Everybody have a good night.
Have a good new year. See
Have
you
a
all
good
in
new year.
January.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
My machine is just lagging. I need to drop my render distance, as my son would say. He posted his latest tweet was, I don't need glasses. I just lowered my render distance so I don't lag.